We have explored the foundations of memory in infancy and toddlerhood, highlighting how, even at the earliest stages of life, the same fundamental memory systems that govern adult cognition, such as short term memory, working memory, and long term memory, are already in place. In the early years, memory capacity is limited, retention is brief, and cognitive strategies for encoding and retrieval are still emerging. Yet, despite these constraints, infants and toddlers demonstrate remarkable memory abilities, laying the groundwork for sophisticated processes seen in adulthood. If you're new to this channel, welcome to the Cognitive Nomad. I am Nero, and today we will be exploring the workings of short term memory and working memory in infancy and toddlerhood. We will highlight key differences and similarities across developmental stages and examine how these early cognitive processes evolve over time. A quick reminder that short term memory is a limited storage space, retaining information for a brief duration, kind of like a mental sticky note. Things are interesting since short term memory changes drastically as we grow. Let's start at the beginning in infancy. Research on short term memory in infants suggests that the ability to temporarily hold information is significantly constrained compared to older children and adults. According to studies, short term memory in infants operate within a limited capacity system where retention duration is brief, often spanning only a few seconds. Infants as young as 6 months demonstrate memory for visual stimuli, but the ability to hold multiple items simultaneously is markedly lower than in later stages of development. Moreover, short term memory is often intertwined with sensory and perceptual experiences rather than abstract cognitive processing. Some researchers argue that short term memory in infants may serve as a precursor to more functional working memory capacities. Now, as we enter toddlerhood, things start to change. By the end of the first year and into the second year, children are able to exhibit enhanced retention abilities, increased memory span, and better recall of sequences. These improvements are attributed to maturation of neural circuits, particularly in the prefrontal cortex, which plays a crucial role in memory processes. Additionally, language acquisition during toddlerhood supports short term memory development. The ability to label and rehearse information verbally contributes to improved recall and maintenance of information over short intervals. The transition from a predominantly sensory based memory system in infancy to one that integrates verbal encoding signifies an important cognitive shift. Fast forward to adulthood, and our short term memory becomes more advanced in terms of capacity, duration, and flexibility. Adults possess more sophisticated mnemonic strategies such as rehearsal, association, and elaboration, which enable more effective retention and recall. Neurobiological differences also account for enhanced short term memory in adulthood. The full maturation of the prefrontal cortex and hippocampal connectivity allows for more efficient encoding, storage, and retrieval of information. Furthermore, short term memory in adults is more resistant to interference and decay when you compare it to infant and toddler memory, where distraction can lead to rapid forgetting. Short term memory undergoes significant changes across lifespan, yet, some of the core principles remain constant. While the basic structure of short term memory as a limited capacity, time sensitive system is evident from infancy through to adulthood, its capacity, retention, and duration, and the cognitive strategies used to enhance memory evolve with age. Now, when we look at differences in short term memory in relation to its capacity, retention, duration, and cognitive processes across developmental stages, we would see that infants are able to hold around 1 to 3 items, toddlers are able to hold about 3 to 4 items, while adults are able to hold 5 to 9 items. Infants are able to hold information for only a few seconds unless reinforced by repetition or sensory cues. Toddlers are able to hold information for slightly longer durations, especially with verbal labels and repetition. In adulthood, adults are able to hold information from anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds unless maintained through rehearsal or chunking strategies. In infants are able to rely on sensory inputs for memory retention. In toddlerhood, we begin to incorporate language and executive function, bridging infancy and mature cognition. In adult years, we use abstract reasoning and linguistic encoding to enhance memory performances. While short term memory provides a temporary storage space for information, working memory takes it a step further. Think of working memory as a cognitive system, not just storing information, but actively shaping thoughts, guiding decisions, and solving problems in real time. In adults, it fuels planning, sharpens attention, and drives complex reasoning. Like short term memory, working memory goes through changes from infancy to adulthood. So, what is it like in the early years of life? Infants exhibit rudimentary working memory capacities, though at a much lower capacity than older children and adults. Research suggests that by the end of the first year, infants can hold simple representations of objects in mind for short durations. For example, infants as young as 6 months show the ability to recall the location of hidden objects, though with a limited retention span. One of the earliest indicators of working memory in infants is goal directed behavior. By 9 months, infants demonstrate the ability to search for hidden objects, suggesting that they can hold information about the object's location in memory. However, their working memory can be easily disrupted. A sudden sound, a shift in focus, and just like that, the memory is gone. They struggle to maintain information. Now, going into the toddler years, working memory significantly improves. Toddlers can hold multiple pieces of information simultaneously and begin to use strategies such as verbal cues to reinforce memory retention. Studies using the delayed response paradigm have shown that by 2 years of age, children can retain information for longer periods and use it to guide their actions, such as searching for a toy after a delay of several seconds. Language development also plays a crucial role in working memory expansion. With the acquisition of verbal skills, toddlers are able to use self directed speech, or the inner voice, to rehearse and maintain information, thereby improving recall and problem solving abilities. So far in our discussion, it may seem like the differences between short term memory and working memory stem mainly from their definitions. And like me, if you're experiencing some familiarity with the information, know that it's not your memory playing tricks on you. Rather, it highlights how in infancy and toddlerhood, challenges may arise in distinguishing between these memory systems. This overlap often leads to interchangeable use of these terms, a shortcoming that complicates the study of working memory in children. After all, when memory research keeps repeating itself, is it short-term memory at work or just a well-rehearsed working memory strategy? I am going to be highlighting several challenges associated with the study of memory in infancy and toddlerhood. Short-term memory is traditionally understood as a system with limited capacity capable of holding information for only a few seconds before it decays. Badley and Hitch propose an active subsystem that not only stores information temporarily but also processes this information. What we refer to as working memory. Working memory's dual role in storage and active processing distinguishes it from short term memory. Cowan emphasizes that working memory is the small amount of information readily accessible to the conscious mind at a given moment, allowing for problem solving and task execution. The overlap in the use of these terms creates confusion, making it difficult to establish clear operational definitions in infant research. Additionally, it is difficult to determine whether an observed memory ability in performance is truly reflecting working memory capacity or short term memory system. Methods for assessing memory used in adult research, such as verbal recall tasks, cannot be used with infants and toddlers due to limited language skills. As a result, researchers must rely on nonverbal measures such as gaze duration, looking time, and other object search tasks. But here is the problem. Are these behaviors really about memory, or are the infants just reacting to what seems familiar? Experimental tasks used to measure short term memory and working memory in young children, such as the delayed response task, often face reliability issues. Infants and toddlers may fail a task not because they lack memory capacity, but due to other factors such as distraction, lack of motivation, or motor limitations. Hunter's 1917 experiment suggests that longer retention intervals demand greater working memory capacity. However, alternative methodologies such as the violation of expectation paradigm interpret greater attention to unexpected outcomes as evidence for working memory. While fixation on changing display may indicate memory retention, it may not demonstrate active manipulation. Although these tasks are designed to study working memory, researchers are often left to assume its presence based on a child's recall. A well designed task ought to differentiate between passive recognition and active manipulation of information. This ensures that what is being measured truly reflects working memory processes. Without careful consideration of task demand and potential confounding factors, researchers risk misattributing a child's success or failure to memory capacity rather than other cognitive or developmental influences. Therefore, the validity of working memory assessments in young children hinges not just on performance outcomes, but on the extent to which the task effectively engages and challenges the cognitive processes underlying working memory. In a Medium post, I conclude that accurate assessment of working memory in children requires tasks that capture both storage and manipulation, ensuring alignment with its operational definition. Tasks like the Cosai block test meet this criterion by requiring participants to store and reorder spatial sequences. Conversely, tasks relying solely on recognition may engage implicit memory rather than working memory. Infants' attention spans are highly variable, making it challenging to ensure that they are consistently engaged in memory tasks. Research has shown that minor distractions can significantly impact the ability to maintain and recall information. Additionally, proactive interference, whereby new information is difficult to remember as a result of old memory traces, makes it unclear whether infants are forgetting due to actual memory decay or because they are unable to filter out irrelevant information. Infants and toddlers have limited tolerance for experimental tasks, making long testing sessions impractical. Researchers must design engaging and brief tasks, but this often limits the depth of data collection. Additionally, factors such as fatigue and hunger and emotional state can affect performance, leading to inconsistent results. Since infants and toddlers have limited receptive verbal skills, researchers often rely on parental involvement during studies. However, parents may unintentionally cue their child's responses, introducing bias. Ensuring that infants are responding to memory cues rather than external guidance is a significant challenge. Working memory in infancy and toddlerhood is a puzzle, one that researchers are still piecing together. While infants show early signs of memory, their abilities are fragile, easily disrupted, and difficult to measure. By toddlerhood, working memory strengthens, aided by language and attentional control. Yet, the challenge remains: how do we truly capture the differences between passive recall and active manipulation? The answer lies in refining how we test working memory based on an operational definition that captures storing of information and actively updating the information. Because if we misinterpret what we see, are we studying memory at all? As research evolves, so does our understanding, bringing us closer to unlocking the mysteries of how young minds hold, process, and use information. The question is, are we ready for what we will discover next?